Over the last few years, I've been able to make hundreds of thousands of dollars with video editing by initially starting out as just a freelance video editor and then after that transitioning to becoming a video editing agency owner. And trust me when I say this, that throughout this journey of the last 3-4 years, I've made a lot of mistakes and I've learned a lot of lessons. And in this video, I'm going to give you 10 tips or 10 things that I've learned that I really wish I knew earlier on in my journey. And if I knew these before, it would have saved me a lot of time and also a lot of money. So I really hope you are going to enjoy. My name is Vince. On this channel, I teach people video editing and also how to make more money with this skill set and scale up to a 6-figure creative business owner. So let's get into the first one. So the first tip I would have for you is to focus on retainer clients instead of just selling one-off videos all the time. When you are starting out, and whether you are starting out as a creative agency or a freelance editor, you're going to have probably a lot of people who are just going to tell you that, oh, they just want this one video or just this little thing done for them. And I'm not telling you to not take those deals at all, because something is usually better than nothing. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, you are going to be in a much better position if pretty much all the time when it makes sense, you try to push people more towards a monthly retainer service. So that means that every single month, the same time, they pay you the same amount to deliver them a set amount of deliverables. Now, the reason why this model is great is because you don't have to start from completely scratch every single month, because if you do that, your paychecks or your monthly income is going to fluctuate a lot. Whereas if you have, let's say, 5 or 10 clients on these monthly retainers, even if you lose one here and there, you're not going to experience huge dips in your income. Trust me, I have been in that position where I was just working with 2 clients and I lost one of them, and that was basically 70% of my income, and it's really not a good feeling. So it's a good idea to try to get these retainer deals, in my opinion, and then also to diversify by having a lot of different clients who pay you. Now, I do still think that you should never really sell your service like under $1,000 per month. So I'm not telling you to get like $100 or $200 per month retainers. Try to go for beefy ones still, so you don't need to work with 15, 20, 30 clients, but it's a good idea to still diversify between them a little bit. Another quick money tip I have regarding clients is to always try to charge upfront. So for example, if you are getting them on a monthly retainer, charge them in the beginning of the month, and if they are very resistant to that, then maybe take 50% upfront and 50% at half of the month. The reason why this is a good idea is because I've heard so many horror stories of freelancers working for an entire month, 2 months, doing a bunch of work and never getting paid. So it's just good to be cautious, in my opinion, and especially if you are working with American clients. Usually, as long as you come off very trustworthy and everything is fine, they are not really going to have an issue with that most of the time. Now, the second tip is to not fall into this trap of just waiting for clients to fall into your lap. I see a lot of freelancers out there who are struggling because they are just, registering to Fiverr or Upwork, for example, and they are just waiting for people to find them. And while those platforms can work for some, you might not even get a client from that for a month, 2 months, and maybe even if you do, it's just a few $100 one. So what you want to do instead, in my opinion, is to actually grab the steering wheel and then go out there and try to hunt for your own clients. So find prospects who you could work for, reach out to them, whether it's through email, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever it is, right? Just do some action every single day and actually put out some force into the world, and trust me, it's going to come back to you. It might not come back immediately, but if you just do enough volume of outreach and you get better and better at it, eventually you are going to land a client from it. The third tip is to focus on learning the business skills as well. And when I talk about business skills, I mean more specifically like learning consultative selling or sales in general and persuasion. Also appointment setting, so like how to get people on a call with you and how to get people interested in your offer. Also offer building, right? Landing page building, like how to put together a good landing page with a video sales letter, how to structure it, all of that. And also email outreach is another great skill to learn. So these are all more business related skills, but if you learn these as well, trust me, you are going to be a better paid creative than 99% of them out there. And I think it's something that most of us just neglect at first because we are all so focused on becoming the best at our craft, becoming the best editors. And sure, that is really important, and you always want to keep improving yourself in that aspect as well. But you don't want to just completely neglect the business side of things, because once you got like good enough, most of the time the way you will end up making more money is by becoming better at the business side of things, and not necessarily by becoming slightly better at After Effects, for example. The fourth tip is to focus on your mindset as well. I know that this is going to probably turn a lot of people off who are watching this, but trust me when I say this, that a lot of times you are more limited by your mindset than your actual skill set. And I'm going to tell you a quick story of an actual example of this. So once I landed my first ever client, who was a guy named Omar Elatar, and he's still a great friend of mine. I got him for $500, right, per month. That was my first ever paying client. And then he was kind of like mentoring me as well, teaching me some stuff. I was very young at that point. I was just 16 years old, or end of 15 when we initially got in contact. And he helped me a lot, right? He made me realize that I had a lot of limiting beliefs around money. I'm from Hungary, which is a small country with a low GDP. And so to me, even $1,000 a month was like mind-blowing, right? It was a lot of money. And 5,000 or 10,000, well, it seemed pretty much impossible at that time. And he made me realize that there is actually a lot more opportunity out there, and the economy itself is huge. So when I got a new opportunity in front of me, I was telling Omar that, you know, I'm looking to charge this guy around 1 to 1.5K a month, like maximum. And that was like the biggest number I could think of. But he told me like, dude, just go for 2.5, go for 3, right? Somewhere in that range. And I was actually like very anxious about that. I thought, you know, that's like a crazy amount to charge. Granted, I was doing for, that package, I was doing daily one Instagram short video and also one quote post kind of, right? So I was doing 60 posts on Instagram. So looking back, I was even undercharging. But basically, at the end of the day, I ended up pitching the guy for 2.6K, I believe, at that time, or maybe even closer to 3. And he said yes, without a question, right? So basically, if I didn't have Omar telling me to like, don't be limited by your mindset, you know, like feel free to say a bigger number, I would have just got him for $1,000. But instead I was able to get 3 times as much. Even though I didn't really believe he was going to say yes, whatever, I just dared to say a bigger number. And oftentimes that's literally the difference, right? Maybe you are at that point where your skill set is already amazing and you just need to say a bigger number and people will still say yes to you, right? So it's also a good sign that if you don't get any resistance from prospects that you talk to, if they just, once you say your price and they are just like, all right, let's move forward, you probably are undercharging. So that's another thing, is to not be limited by your mindset, and start studying that topic as well. Start learning about self-image, and you need to work on becoming that person worthy of getting that goal. Tip number 5 is more so a lesson, and that is that reselling to existing clients and asking them for referrals is way easier way to get your next client than to actually go and do more outreach. So this is just a lesson that I've learned basically too late. For the longest time, I wasn't really asking for referrals, or I wasn't really trying to upsell my existing clients with something else that they could also use. So if you have clients right now, or once you get clients in the future, and if they are very happy with everything that you are providing, don't be afraid to ask them, hey, do you know anybody else who you think could benefit from this service? If you can send me someone, I would be happy, to give you half of my service for free, like half month extra for next month, let's say, right? Or yeah, like that's one way you could go about it, is just ask them for referrals, ask them if they know anyone who could potentially get good use out of your service as well. Or if there is something extra that you could do for them that would actually make sense, then don't be afraid to pitch them, that as well. And if they are in a financial position where they can do it, the likelihood of them actually taking that extra level of service is actually pretty high, because they already like you, they already know you, and they already trust you as well because they've been working with you. Lesson number 6 is sell to rich people, they pay better. This is a saying by Alex Hormozi, and I've experienced this in my own life as well. Sometimes the difference between $100 video edit, let's say, and $1,000 video edit is not the actual edit, it's the customer who it is being sold to, right? And just think about it. The value of the same video can be also different to two businesses based on how much revenue it is going to bring them. So if you have a very high ticket service, let's say, which is, let's just call it $10,000, right? And that video that you post to social media could bring them one extra client, well, that could mean that they make an extra $10,000 from that one single video, or maybe even more. But if you have another business where they are selling, let's say, $5 ebooks, and if they post that same video and just get a few sales from it, well, they barely made any money. So basically, based on who you are selling to, based on what kind of ticket sizes that certain business that you are selling to has, that video itself is going to generate more value for one business than another, meaning that they could also afford to spend more money on the actual edit. So sell to rich people and solve rich people problems, because usually they will end up paying better. Now that takes us to the 7th lesson, which is to focus on selling the outcome of what you are doing and not necessarily the details. So this is another mistake I see a lot of beginner video editors or agencies make. It's that they basically just focus on the little details of how their videos are crafted, like the special sound effect that they integrate, the color grading they do, and they kind of like pitch those things as the selling points of what they do. But the reality is that most prospects don't give a shit about all of that stuff, right? All they care about is the results that your video is going to bring them. Is it going to bring them more followers, more leads, more customers? If it's, let's say, an image video for a construction company where they are trying to hire more people, is this going to bring them more candidates who want to work for the company? Like, the thing that they are buying is not actually your video, it's the outcome that your video can produce for their business. So keep that in mind, and whenever you're trying to sell yourself and your services, try to always keep the focus on what results are they going to experience by having you help them with the media side of things, and not necessarily just all these little details that you are going to be doing and like what computer you're editing on and what resolution you use, because those are not as important in 99% of cases. Now, the next lesson is that results are often delayed from the action that you take. So basically that just means that, let's say you're trying to get some clients and you're doing outreach, you are doing social media posts, and you do it for a whole week and you still haven't experienced any results from it. Well, the reason why that might be is because oftentimes when you take action today, the results of that are only going to be felt, let's say 2-3 months from now. So the most important thing is that you actually stick to your outreach, you stick to marketing yourself or whatever it is that you're doing, and that action is going to compound on itself. And let's say somebody sees your first email right today, but maybe they don't decide to act up on it right now. Well, if you keep following up with them for weeks and weeks to come, maybe 2 months from now, they got to a point where they are familiar enough with your work, they've seen your Instagram account or your YouTube account over and over again, and they only then decide to work with you. So oftentimes, especially if you're trying to get higher ticket clients, it's not always something that happens at an instant. Usually a deal cycle can take longer time as well, because if you don't have that much credibility or a huge portfolio, they need to get more familiar with you. They need to trust you more. Maybe you need to even do multiple calls with them before they would end up becoming a client. So that's just something you need to keep in mind, is if you start doing some outreach and it's not working in a week, hell, even in a month, that doesn't necessarily mean that everything is, completely wrong. It might just mean that you need to give it some more time. Now, granted, if you don't see your numbers improving, like the things that you should be tracking, like your open rates and your reply rates and all of that stuff, if those are not improving, maybe you do need to change up your emails or make sure you are getting landed in their actual inboxes. But, as long as things are like slowly improving, you just need to stick to it and the results will follow. Now, the 9th lesson is to find styles or types of videos that are in demand right now, learn those styles or master those styles, and then offer that to the market. This is one of the most surefire ways to actually land clients and deals. So to give you an actual example of this, right? Creators on YouTube, for example, who really popped off, especially in the business space, around 1.5 years ago was Iman, right? Iman Gadzhi. And basically, his editors came up with a very cool like editing style for YouTube and for these talking head videos, where they had a bunch of animations in there, smooth zooms, nice little backgrounds, and all of that stuff. And basically everybody wanted to recreate that kind of quality of video, where they have After Effects animations and everything in there, because it was something that was new. It was something that nobody was really doing before, or nobody was really making that high quality videos in this like business or self-improvement space. So all of those video editors who actually could learn how to do that style at the highest level could charge 500,000, 1.5K for just one of those videos. And even now, there isn't that many people who can do that style at the highest level. So if you find a trend or something that is going to become very popular right now, or something that is just becoming very popular right now in terms of, an editing style, let's say, then if you learn that and you get on that trend early, you are going to be able to really capitalize on that. So this is another thing I would tell you, is go and see what's popping right now, what styles of editing are working really well, and then learn that, and then go and offer that to the competitors of the originator, so to say, of that style. Now, last but not least, what I want to talk about is that if you want to make, let's say, 5K a month or 10K a month or 50K a month in this industry, what you should be doing is not necessarily writing that goal down on your wall, but instead writing down what are the characteristics of that person who is capable of doing that number and doing it over and over again every single month, right? What is that person like? How does he carry himself? What are his habits? How does he spend his day, or she spend her day, right? And once you write that down and you really define the type of person who can achieve that result, then if you make those actions your actual standards, so the baseline that you kind of go back to, then eventually you are going to reach that number goal as well. A lot of people, what they do is they obsess over the number way too much, right? They are just always focused on the number, but in reality, they are completely spending their time on the wrong things that a 0K per month person would do, or a 5K per month person would do, and maybe they want to get much further than that, right? So once you have defined, okay, this is my goal, this is how the type of person who can reach that goal would act on a day-to-day basis, then your goal is to just make that your standard, right? Like how you operate every single day. To do that, usually what you need to do first is actually find out what are your weaknesses, right? What are your sins, or I don't want to say that in like a religious sense, but what are your vices, the things that you are still doing which are holding you back? It might be sleeping in way too much. It might be eating a bunch of trash food. It might be, just scrolling on TikTok for hours, whatever those things are. First, just focus on getting rid of those so you can make time and energy for the positive things, and then focus on building those positive things out to be your habits. So it's like, whether it's, eating healthy, getting the right sleeping patterns, doing your outreach every single day, learning and reading books every single day, right? Like once you are doing these things that the person who can get your goal would do every single day, and you do it for long enough, then you will get that goal, not when you write it down on your wall, right? I hope this is really making sense to you now, that we basically never reach our highest goals, right? But we fall to our lowest standards. So the easiest way to actually hit that goal that you might have in your mind is to figure out what are the standards, what are the daily habits, the daily actions of a person who can do that, and then make that your lowest standard. And so that is what you are going to fall back into, right? A person who's a 7-figure earner, they don't necessarily have different goals than you. Everybody has the same goals. Everybody wants the same stuff. Everybody wants to be healthy, have a good relationship, be financially well off. Your goals alone don't make you different from everybody else at all. What makes you different is your daily actions. And what defines your daily actions is your standards. So that's what you need to really work on. And I'm saying this from, experience, going from 0 to, doing pretty well for myself. And obviously I still have so much further to go. You can't even imagine. So I really hope that this video was insightful for you. If you want to potentially work with me and my team, I'm going to leave a link in the description below. Again, I hope this was insightful for you. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I wish you genuinely the best of luck on your journey.